If you want to know how I'm designing, laying out, and building the interior bed storage in the Tundra, we're going to take a look at part 2 of the video where I finish up the design and show you the finished product. Coming up. Yeah! My name's Drew and this is Evergreen Overland. On this channel we do reviews on camping and overland gear, we hone our outdoor cooking skills, and we showcase 4x4 vehicle modifications like the one we're going to talk about today. For a long time coming, I've been planning out the design and the build of what the back of my truck bed was going to look like. In the previous video, which I think you can click here for, we took a look at the beginning steps of the design that I was doing, how I was starting to lay everything out, and how it was all starting to come together with the base plate system and the aluminum frame. In this video, we're going to complete the frame, sheet some of the components in a Raptor linered plywood, and then do the final fit and finish. And at the end, I'll give you a tour of the system to show you how all my gear is laid out and implemented in the new organizing system. Okay, well, I'm going to attempt to do a little bit of work on the truck bed organizer aluminum system right here. I'm going to work on, I think I have both 1/2 inch plywood here and then 1/4 inch plywood here. Work on turning those into sheeting and then some seating for parts of this. I've broken out my router. I'm going to give this top surface a nice beveled edge to it. Doing some sheeting here, so basically it'll just make that into a closed off box below there, so I'll be able to, you know, lift up these for storage. This one I think is going to have this side's going to have the battery, the backup battery, auxiliary power and all that kind of stuff. That side's probably just going to be bedding. So yep, I'm just kind of figuring out this and cutting some of this plywood sheeting. Not really going to film too much of that, or at least not talk about it too much while I do it. Show you what it looks like when it's done. Yeah, I think that turned out pretty good. I'm going to attach it. I think I'm going to attach it. Yeah, I need to get a captive nut for the bolts I want, because I don't want nut heads sticking up on the top. But I'm going to coat this with the same bed liner that I did the bumpers in, the Raptor liner. Another day, I'm going to get a little bit more work done today on the organization system. I've sanded the 2 pieces right there, got all the edges beveled down so it's not going to catch on anything, and once I coat it, it should hold the bed liner on there really well. Got this portion done, got the top section done right there. Basically how these are going to work is I'll have, you know, my front runner packs under here. This one will store 4 of them, this one will store 2, and then 2 different size ARBs up front. The truck bed's going to come, you know, right to the edge of this, so can't really get into the fridge this way, but if I take those bags out, I can just open this up and access the fridge for food and that kind of stuff. I'm going to sand both of these down next, just get them prepped and ready for Raptor liner. Then I'm probably going to take the base plate out from the truck and then sand that all down. And from there, I just got to figure out all my mounting positions, drill those out, put in my nut certs into the wood, and then I can disassemble everything and get all the wood staged on a nice day and get it coated with the Raptor liner out of the HVLP gun, and then do a final assembly. There it is. For the most part, that is what it's going to look like, except in black. So this will all be coated in black bed liner. These inserts are going to be coated as well. Yeah, that really looks pretty damn good. This thing's solid as hell. I am going to fill this with all my bedding and see if I can get it all to stuff down in there. Sweet. Well, I guess I'm going to do a little bit of a test fit. Boom, baby. Yes. That's so awesome. I mean, I'm not going to be able to pack them to the frickin' brim. That is sweet. All right, let's get all of them. Yes, 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 yes. Super, super cool. So yeah, take a little second to appreciate the awesomeness that just happened. I know the light's not great, but whatever. I'm freaking ecstatic. This looks awesome. And all of some sort of webbing across this, not webbing, but just a strap across this. So what I'm trying to do right now is figure out kind of exactly where I'm going to drill the holes to mount this base plate to the truck bed itself. So I'm going to be doing 3 in the section that's all the way towards the front of the cab. And then I'm going to do 4 in the bigger section that, you know, the majority of the fridge and all that kind of stuff is going to sit on. You know, I'm going to install a captive RIVNUT in the truck bed itself. So I'm going to drill through that, through the base plate, through the carpeting, and then into the truck bed, pull it all back up and install that captive RIVNUT. Put everything back in, and then I'll sandwich all of it together through the top, 1/4x20 bolt, basically. What I've done so far is I've kind of laid it all out, and I left it open so that I could pull it up where I needed to kind of identify what ridges I wanted to hit. I'm going to do on the up ridge of the bed. You know, there's peaks and valleys in a truck bed, so I'm going to do on the peak of it in the location so that it doesn't have to have that dead space. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. It doesn't have a valley of dead space that the bolt is going through. It'll just have a very tight, consistent purchase through the base plate, the carpet, you know, that'll get sandwiched down a little bit there and into the truck bed. So I basically just went through, assembled my box in there, traced that box out to know where I have to avoid putting a bolt, then took that all out, did all my measurements to hit those peaks of the bed ridges, marked my holes, basically marked where I want to do those holes. Trying to take this slow and really think about every aspect of it because, you know, I'm drilling through my bed and it's a super cool tool, just a little deburring tool for holes. I'm going to do a quick cleanup of all the holes just with some glass cleaner and then some isopropyl alcohol and let that dry, and then when I go to put my nutsert, RIVNUT, whatever you want to call them, in, I'm going to squirt a whole bunch of Lexol around the edges of it and get it to seal there. Yeah. You buy this Tack Life RIVNUT tool. Yeah, you basically just thread this RIVNUT on there and it opens up. I'm going to silicone all around the head of this, shove it in the hole I drilled, mash in on these 2 sides, and it just pancakes it, sandwiching the 2 pieces of metal together. I'll just pull it all the way out. Put it in the hole. I think that's going to be about it for today. Finish up some more of it another day. Alright, we got some good weather this weekend. So I left off a couple of days ago just working on the base plate. And I got the base plate kind of figured out for the most part. Got it bolted down in there temporarily. Got the frame structure put back together and screwed together so it can't come apart. Where I mark out where I'm going to be drilling out and tapping in the mounting bolts into the base plate through the aluminum frame of this. You know, I've already put it together a couple of times. I kind of see how it's going to look. Yeah, so, I mean, I'm going to basically be marking out and drilling out the locations, and I'm going to be mounting this aluminum tubing to the base structure, starting to get some captive nuts inserted on the other side eventually, and then I think I'll be ready to paint this and all the rest of the wood. Kind of drilled some pilot holes there and there, all around the base of the frame. I've got the base plate and the frames and everything out of the truck now. I'm going to start getting these little captive nuts inserted. So basically how this is, it's a 4-pronged little captive nut that goes into wood, and this gets hammered in, 1/4 inch inside thread diameter that matches up to the bolts I'm going to use. But you know, this gets put into the hole underneath and hammered in. Those prongs just get really good purchase into the wood, and then this will go in the top with my washers and lock nut and all that kind of stuff. Pin everything together to the board. Really quick on the Tembo Tusk fridge slide. I'm just super impressed with it. You know, there's really not much to it. It's a pretty simple design. It's probably designed with the least amount of lost space in that gap in between the base plate and the slide. Super impressed with it. Very simple thing, but seems to be built really well, and I'm really glad I went ahead and bought one rather than built it this time. Just sometimes the time doesn't justify the savings and all that kind of stuff, and by the time you're done building something, well, you could have paid for somebody to do it as well. So I've built one of those drawer slides before. I know how to do it. For this build, I figured I'd cut out that step, buy something pre-made, and I'm really happy I did. The other style captive nut that I have, and it's basically, you know, another style of threaded nut, so this just gets in there. I'm going to use this on the underside. This is the top section, the underside of the top section. Alright, this weekend just keeps getting nicer and nicer, so it's giving me an opportunity with some nice weather to completely sand all the panels. I'm going to be Raptor linering and get that coated. I'm going to do 2 coats today. These are the top sections, or at least the sections of the wood that's going to be showing and kind of having to handle that everyday abuse of some of it walking on, other parts just kind of sliding things back and forth. So I should say I'm going to thin this out. It's a 3-to-1, so 3 parts Raptor liner, 1 part catalyst mixing ratio, and then I'm going to thin it out to 20%, and then I'm going to spray it out of my HVLP gun from Harbor Freight that I drilled the fluid tip out to 2.0, 29 psi at the gun inlet. I'm going to shoot for like 6 to 8 inches away from the substrate. I'm going to do first pretty wet coat, and then the second coat I'm going to kind of mist it with a 60 minute flash off time in between coats. And then I'll let that sit for like 2 days before I flip it over and do the back sides. Alright, well, I'm finally getting back into it, finishing up the bed storage build. I'm going to be kind of getting reorganized a little bit. We went through a move, as you guys know about, kind of organizing the garage to be able to work out of it. I've got all my stuff from this build process in totes over here. I got to go through and kind of get my baseline again. I haven't worked on this thing for like a month. I'm going to clean out and vacuum out the back of the truck bed. It's become my moving vehicle and dump run vehicle, all that kind of stuff, so it needs some love. Already got the base system mounted down in there. Going to lay out all my stuff out of my totes that I have labeled for this build out on my work table and kind of get a baseline of where I'm at. We'll go from there. Alright, so I got all my stuff kind of laid out here, you know, out of my couple of totes that I had stored for the bed storage build, and I've got the bed storage frame over here along with the back portion of the frame, because I'm having a hard time remembering where I left off and what I needed to do in what order, and what would fit in what order. So there's certain things that kind of have to go in before other pieces, like the framing before some of the wood surrounding and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to put this bad boy back in place and see if that gives me the room to take some next steps, or at least point out where I left off. Clearances are very tight. As you might be able to see in here, I'm getting a little bit of a raise up on the back panel compared to where this is sitting level on the main panel. And that is primarily because I put a mounting spot right there to the truck bed, right there, and then it's underneath that, but it's back there in the truck bed. So unfortunately, I'm just going to do another one in the corners over here. I am just going to drill straight through, and rather than doing a nut cert in the truck bed, I'm just going to have a threaded nut on the other side and you know, Lexel silicone it in on the underside of the truck bed. Now I am going to set it in enough so that I can recess it just like I did the other sections. Go see where that popped through. I'm going to take that and drill it forward about 1.5 inches. All right, so I got this back here, and I got all of my boards, my base plate all mounted up. I've got it sucked down on all the little different mounting spots. This one's mounted there, back in the corner, back in that corner. This one is mounted in kind of the 4 corners of the base plate. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So let's get this stuff tightened in here and make sure the base plates are tight to the truck. Extra long bolts, locking washer, set down in that recessed hole. Do the same on the other side. Go around and bolt it in.
Are you eating chocolate in bed?
No. This should suck this down DIY is not always easy, but the satisfaction of knowing you've done it yourself, I don't know, is it worth it? I think because I put this edge trimming all the way around, it bumped it out probably 1/4 of an inch total over the whole span of everything, so just kind of is what it is. Threw it out of square slightly, but I think we're gonna be okay, or at least I hope we're gonna be okay. We're gonna need to massage it. Okay, so I think I got it fixed. I am going to eventually need to cut a new piece for that because the gaps are just too freaking huge on this thing. Not exactly sure how it got warped out of place. Thinking it really is this edging material, but I wanted to leave it in place. I mean, this thing ain't gonna rattle at all, so that's a positive thing. But yeah, I'm gonna replace this back piece eventually so I can get it nice and sealed up in here. Oh boy. All right. Well, I was riding the struggle bus pretty hard with that. Yeah, it just wasn't going together quite the way I had hoped. So cut some things down, made a couple of tolerances a little wider, and I think I got it in there. Definitely not rattling. It's so freaking tight. I am going to work on getting the rest of the structure kind of installed in there. Well, I've got most of the structure bolted in and down. It's looking pretty solid. Next, I'm going to put in my Tembo Tusk fridge slide and install that. Same thing, just a flat washer and a locking washer. Put into the nutsert. Leave it kind of loose until I get them all squared away and lined up. And I'll send them home. Do it. Oh yeah, baby. All right, that looks super good. I'm gonna pull this out of the garage, get a little bit of headspace by setting up the habitat, and finish up the top shelf area and the workstation area. I'll show you guys that next. So unfortunately, I do this with all my truck builds. I just build things too tight. So this area right here has got to get assembled once the thing's all put up. It should go smoothly. Is this guy, just like that. So I'm trying to get this some sort of mounting spot up high so that it just kind of sucks this thing tight to the top, so it doesn't want to move back and forth when we put our weight down on it getting off. I've been going back and forth for a while on whether I was going to put a piece of wood in here. When I first soft fit this whole thing in before I put my anchor points down on this, which I'll show you real quick from a top view. Yeah, so they're right there. Anchor point. Yeah, before, I mean, this whole system didn't have any bracing on the top of it, so it moved quite a bit, and we were going to be using this as a leverage point or a stepping point to get in and out of bed. So I was gonna try to strengthen it up by putting bracing, a piece of wood all the way around there that would just kind of tie it all together pretty well. But now that it's braced at the top, I don't think I'm gonna need to do that. And that's kind of what I preferred, actually. I just wanted to leave it open to give it a whole bunch of room to breathe. Well, I think the next part of this video will probably be the thing loaded up with all the storage totes and all that kind of stuff. I'll show you when that's kind of finalized. All right, well, that was the whole process for the most part of how I put together the interior build. Now let's just kind of dive into it, see the finished product, and see how it all works together. First things first, you got to find your camping spot, set the habitat up. I'm gonna get that done, and then we'll go inside to kind of see how the whole system works. Right on the interior here, I've got a little nook where I pack both of my setup and support poles for the habitat. So I got the habitat up, it's time to start taking some stuff out and deploying camp. Once I'm stationed for the night, I swing out my tire carriers, pop open the back here, pop down the tailgate. First thing in the system is this little ladder that I have to basically help me, for the most part, get in the back of the truck easily and also access the fridge when I need to get something way in the back. Before stopping on the trail for lunch or something like that, I don't have to deploy the tent or anything like that, but I just pop the tailgate down. I have access to my totes for some of my cooking and pantry stuff. I have my whole kitchen tote right here that I can access pretty easily, and then the fridge can slide all the way out, giving me access to all my food and drink. I bought this 90-liter National Luna fridge freezer so that basically I never really run out of room. The locking slides on the Tembo Tusk drawer slide make sure it stays put off trail as well. First thing you're probably going to grab when you come to camp is going to be some camping chairs. Two options right over here. After that, I've basically got my kitchen tote system, and this is all of my cooking equipment. There's nothing perishable in here. I actually use a multi-part system for all my kitchen stuff to where all of my kitchen equipment and supplies is separate from my pantry and then my refrigerated foods, just so that I can leave this hopefully out overnight and not have to worry as much about bears and critters getting into it. Slide it under the truck tailgate to be in and out of the way. Now, this is my first time actually deploying the full system, so my guess is what I'd probably do more times than not is set up the Expedition Essentials EXO table, which is held in place over here with a front runner stratchet. Release some of the tension on and flip out of the way. All right, let's take a look inside. Coming on into the inside of the habitat, you have this area that's probably about 5 feet deep, a little over 2 feet wide to kind of navigate, hang out, stand, get changed, all that kind of stuff. I've designed it so that, you know, a family of 4 can easily feel comfortable kind of hanging out. It might not be the perfect scenario. You're not outside with endless amount of space, but in the Pacific Northwest, when you have to kind of blue tarp camp it and get inside, batten down the hatches for a little bit, it's super nice to have the space that the habitat offers. Talking about the building materials a little bit here, I went with the aluminum tubing because it just gives you a really nice structure that works kind of like adult Legos. You can put it together in a whole bunch of different configurations. And if down the road I decided I wanted to remove a section of this and modify it, it's going to be a lot easier for me to do that rather than if the whole system was built out of, you know, glued together wood and drawers and all that kind of stuff. The decision to go with more of a tote-based system for organizing and holding my gear rather than going with like drawers or a deck system and all that kind of stuff was primarily because I wanted to be able to keep the habitat sealed up, allowing mosquitoes to get in when I might be cooking or when I might be needing to dig through my gear. Nice big open area right here to stand around and get ready in and all that. You have a nice surface to, you know, bring the cooktop in here, do any cooking. It also acts as a nice place where we can set things while we're sleeping at night, water bottles, cell phones, all that kind of stuff. And being that the habitat is, you know, probably about a 4-foot jump to get up to the bed area, you kind of want something that you can step on to help assist you in getting in and out. This gives me and my wife an area, along with the ledge that's on the passenger side here, enough strength and rigidity to get in and out of bed really easily and comfortably. All right, well, totes versus drawers. I've had both systems. Before I did any sort of built-ins in my old truck, I used to do quite a bit of camping just with all of my gear thrown in totes. What a frustration I always had with that is overpacking giant totes and bins of gear, and the fact that it seemed like every time you needed something, you had to get up on your tailgate, climb in the very back of your truck to grab it, pull it out, and do the same in reverse to put it all back together. I really enjoyed having drawers in my last build after I did the interior build out. But in doing so in that system, I had it so that my kitchen was actually in one of those drawers, which caused the tailgate and the whole living space and hangout space of the wilderness to be open to mosquitoes and bugs and all the weather and all that kind of stuff. I wanted to avoid that and make a system where I could access the bulk majority of my gear from standing on the outside of the truck bed, but also batten down the hatches and close everything up. In choosing to go with the front runner flat packs, as well as a couple of the ARB cargo packs, it was mostly based on their size, and with this system, I have small enough containers where it somewhat limits the amount that I can pack in them, so I'm not overpacking, but also makes it so that they're easy to carry around camp. I can access some of them from the side door over here, The totes are fit pretty snug in this area, and I don't think I'm going to have much issue with them sliding around. The driver's side, they're captive because they can't slide past there. Same thing with the rear of the truck. They're held in by the tailgate and the Habitat door being closed. So the only area anything could slide around and come out are these two edges, which I've come up with just some nylon cord here that I can kind of slide down and slide back into place when I need to get things out. One thing I wanted to make sure I could do from being inside the camper at night was to access the fridge a little bit for drinks or snacks or whatever it would be. I made a way to do that. You do have to take out all the totes, but these two shelves are just free floating shelves, and from that point you can lift that up and easily access some stuff from out of the fridge. Right down here, tucked out of the way, is the best place I've been able to find so far to put the shower that I built a couple of videos ago. I just attached some D-rings in here into the underside of the metal, and there's my second Stratch-It strap from Front Runner that kind of keeps this thing pinned down and secure. So this whole bench across the back is just a nice little area where me, my wife, the dog can sit over here and chill out if it's raining, kind of no problem. Eventually I'm going to have some pads upholstered for the top of this, and I think it'll be really cool to have this area kind of to hang out if we end up needing to spend some extra time inside the Habitat when the weather's too poor. Underneath this is access to the Wrappon green toilet and a little bit more space over on this side where I could store, you know, my Mr. Buddy propane heater or whatever else I need to. So what's nice about this is if you flip it up and lean it, it gives you access to release the tension strap that's holding it down, slide the whole toilet out, close up the whole Habitat, and just do what you gotta do. So in the back here, I have two separate storage compartments to house kind of two different things. The one I'm sitting on right now over to the passenger side is actually what's housing the auxiliary battery system and all the components that go along with that. I'm going to hold off showing you that until I put out that video in the future. Over to the driver's side and the larger of the two compartments, it's just a big cavernous area of space where we can house all of our sleeping bags and sleeping bag liners and pillows and everything like that. In this system, we can get to camp, throw everything up on the bed area up there really quickly, and you're pretty much good to sleep. And then when you're breaking down to speed things up, you don't have to worry about packing things away all meticulously. I just shove everything in there, kind of like this is one big stuff sack, throw the lid on it, and call it good. Really, the last area to talk about in this thing would be just this kind of sliver of storage space that I have over here along the side of the organizer system. Houses my tailgate tire table, some plug-in USB lights, my privacy tent. It's just kind of a catch-all for a few different things that I have that are really thin, and so far it's working out great. And being that privacy tent is over here, that kind of helps keep everything packed in there tight and not rattling around very much. Well, thanks for watching this video. I know it was a long one. I really appreciate it. I hope this was informative for you, entertaining, or maybe gave you some inspiration for your own build that you're planning. If you liked this video, it would mean a lot to me if you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell button to be notified when I release a new video weekly. If you have any questions, I'll try to link as much as I can in the description section of this video to things you saw, but there's only so much I'm going to be able to include, so definitely check out some of my other videos. If you want to follow me elsewhere, you can look me up over on Instagram at Evergreen Overland, as well as evergreenoverland.com. If you have any questions or comments, definitely throw them in the comment section below. I love interacting with you guys, and I really am enjoying starting to build a community around this channel. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching.